1 week before my wedding to Felix, his white moon, the one he'd never gotten over, got divorced. He brought her to me and asked to call off the engagement. Jessica, I don't want to settle. No matter how hard you try to copy her, you'll never measure up. I left calmly, cut off my long hair, and put on a biker jacket. Back to the battlefield that was mine, he scoffed to his friends. Who'd like such an ostentatious woman? She's not marriage material at all. Until a photo suddenly leaked in our social circle on a motorcycle, a slender, fair hand pressed against the chest of Beijing's most unruly young master. His tattooed arm, veins bulging, clung tightly to the woman's waist. Hormones oozed through the screen. Finally, Felix called, "Jessica, who is he?" The reply came in another man's lazy drawl, "Ex-bro, let me introduce myself. I'm her legally wedded husband. I was at the bridal shop for the final fitting in 2 weeks. I was supposed to marry Felix even though the dress was custom made. The chest and waist were a little tight. I went to the fitting room to adjust it when I heard voices growing clearer outside. Hey, did you hear? Felix's ex, Cecilia, is back after her divorce. I remember when she broke up with him 3 years ago. He was devastated. Totally. If Jessica hadn't shown up and stuck by him through that dark time, he probably never would have moved on. The most outrageous little princess in Beijing's social circle. Never thought she'd actually mellow out for Felix. But with Cecilia suddenly back. Do you think the wedding will fall through? They've already sent out invitations. If it gets called off, they'll be the laughingstock of the circle. When their voices faded, I took off the ill-fitting dress. I called Felix. He didn't answer. But through the chaos in the background, I heard his voice. She's just a poor imitation. Jessica isn't worth a fraction of Cecilia's little finger. Someone chimed in. Jessica was once known as the hardest to chase and the hardest to tame. Bro, you should count your blessings. Felix scoffed. Hard to tame. These past 3 years, she's been trailing me like a dog. Finally managed to chase me into marriage though. Bro, you don't even like her? Felix's voice turned cold. Would you like a dog? Someone in the crowd pressed. Then why are you marrying her? The air went silent. After a long pause, I heard Felix say, watching someone that outrageous mellow out. It's been entertaining. I hung up, stared at my reflection in the mirror, long black hair. And the faint traces of washed off tattoos on my arms and collarbone. Though I suddenly laughed. I'd had enough of playing the good girl. Felix didn't come home for a week. I listed our wedding house on a real estate platform, Evergrande in Thailand. It was bought with my money and I didn't want any of it anymore. When I finished, I finally got his call asking to meet. It was his party, but he was the last to arrive. When he walked in, he had Cecilia, fragile, looking delicate and vulnerable, by his side. She looked about 50 like me. He held her hand tightly, as if protecting her from the world, putting on a show of devotion. The room went quiet. No one dared speak. All eyes turned to me. I said nothing, staring down at the frayed red string on my wrist. A faint smile tugged at my lips. Then Felix brought her to me. Jessica, I'm calling off the wedding. I lifted my eyelids, looking at him calmly. You want to break the engagement? He pulled Cecilia closer, gazing at her with doting eyes. Cecilia's back. I don't want to settle. No matter how hard you tried to copy her. You'll never measure up, do you understand? I don't love you. Okay. He looked at me, confused, as if I shouldn't be so calm. You know our parents pushed this arrangement, he added. I loved Cecilia for 5 years, waited 3. She's been hurt enough. I want to give her a home. I grew impatient, grabbing my bag from the side. Alright, are you done? Felix froze, then after a silence, went on, I'll handle my family, you deal with yours. The wedding next week. We're not doing it. Fine. I stood up and headed for the door. At the entrance, Felix suddenly called, Jessica? I turned back. He was still there, but I saw the hand hanging at his side clenched into a tight fist. Yes, he frowned. You have nothing to say to me. I thought about it. I really wanted to say, I envy you. Your white moon can come back, mine can't. Instead, I said flatly, congratulations on your new life. As I closed the door, I heard voices behind me. Seriously? That's all Jessica has to say? Felix, you said she was madly in love with you. Why isn't she making a scene? Shut up. Felix's voice, sharp with irritation. I didn't look back. I should have known. No matter how much Felix resembled him, he wasn't him. He would have never left me for someone else. After leaving, I walked into a salon, cut off the long hair I'd kept for 3 years when the sleek short blue hair appeared. I felt like myself again. Then I got a new tattoo on my wrist. Genie Rakuljamed Damed and George. It means, I never retreat. Finally, I stepped into a shop I hadn't entered in 3 years. Joseph, help me get my bike out. A muscular guy in a tank top emerged from the shop. He stared at me in shock, his eyes reddening as he struggled to find his words. Jessica, miss me. The 6-foot-something guy looked me up and down. Flustered. Jessica, why are you here? My gaze fell onto bike parked front and center, one white, one black. I smiled. You still have them? Jessica, I wiped these to every day. They're as good as new. You could ride 'em anytime. Where you headed? Want me to tell the guys? I shook my head. Just bring it out. I want to go for a ride alone. Got it. The second I climbed on, a long buried feeling washed over me. It had been so long since I'd ridden. Like if I never got on a bike again, I could erase what happened that summer. I glanced back at the black Kawasaki, my thoughts drifting to him. Joseph followed my stare, his eyes watering. I'd been waiting for Daniel too. I kept Blackie here and touched, right next to yours. Figured one day, they'd hit the road together again. Sis Nane, it's been 3 years. I waited till you came back. Do you think I'll wait till he does? I paused. So it had been 3 years. They say if you listen to reverse clock 1,000 times, you'll see who you're missing. I've listened 1,000 times. Why ain't Daniel back? I turned, my nose stinging, and said softly, it's all lies. The dead don't come back. Then I revved the engine. Joseph didn't know it already listened 10,000 times. I raced to the mountaintop, leaned against the bike, and screamed at the view below, Daniel. I did what you said. I tried to marry good. Why aren't you back? Tears streamed down. Liar, you said you'd see me in my wedding dress. Look, turns out I'll only ever wear it for you. But it didn't fit. I ate right, lived right. Why didn't it fit? Can you hold me? The wind's so strong, I'm so tired. A mountaintop was empty. Save for a sea of stars, the moon cast a soft glow over everything, making it feel gentle. A rustle behind me. I spun. No one there, just crickets chirping. I pulled myself together and started downhill. Then I noticed, the black Kawasaki was gone. Joseph. I hopped off and yelled toward the shop. Where is it? Who took it? A horn blared behind me. My heart thundered. Faster than ever before I knew it, tears blurred my vision. I pressed a hand to my chest and turned slowly. Under the dim yellow streetel twide, Daniel leaned against the bike, black shirt, black pants. His eyes were as bold and unruly as ever, that wild, roguish spark still there. He quirked an eyebrow. My little firecracker, still such a crier. It felt like time rewound to our first meeting. My parents had fought because I wouldn't behave. Then hit me hard. All I'd said was they shouldn't torture each other, they should divorce. What was so wrong with that? I ran away, hiding to cry. Halfway through, a lazy, drawling laugh cut through. Whose little firecrackers crying here alone? Daniel had his hands behind his head, stood slowly, and sat beside me, passing a tissue. Cried alone, still lonely. You don't know me. Might as well let me listen. We were 15 then. I never told him why I cried, but he sat with me all afternoon. Later, I learned who he was, the school tyrant from the next town. They said he fought mean hard, called him a bastard 'cause he had no dad. Fate, maybe. We got close. He'd take me to the mountaintop to stargaze, introduced me to his friends. All the love I never got at home. He gave freely, told me to be myself 'cause some people, they liked me just like that. Every time I fought with my folks, he'd show up, hug me soft, and let me scream till I couldn't. He'd get back at anyone who talked crap about me, who said I wasn't a good girl. Jessica, he'd say, ain't nobody gets to decide who's good or bada, and nobody gets to judge you, Ray, just you. I'd stand up to anyone who called him a bastard. To sit with him when he went quiet, tell him he wasn't alone. I said, Daniel, you don't have to be anything special, your existence alone is meaningful. They all said such an arrogant, cold person only softened when he was with me, like two souls adrift in the deep sea. We'd finally found our driftwood. Daniel and I grew closer and closer. After high school we fell in love that night. A group of us rode to the mountaintop, cheering to celebrate our coming of age. Then he sneaked up behind the crowd, took my hand, and dragged me into a run. The world narrowed down to just our breathing. Daniel, does this feel like a lopping? I still remember that summer. The roundest moon, the brightest stars, the sweetest cicada songs, and a boy's most sincere eyes. Beneath the stars, we hugged and kissed, as if this moment would last forever. Daniel. You're finally back. I missed you so much, I said, my voice trembling. My body shaking slightly. Why are you crying? Come here, let me hold you. I sprinted over only to see Joseph pushing the bike over Jessica. Why are you crying? Didn't Daniel say his bike and yours would never be alone? I thought since you rode yours I'd roll out the black one and start it up. Oh. So that had been a hallucination. I turned away, wiping my tears. They say you shouldn't meet someone too dazzling when you're young, or everyone after will pale in comparison. I'd been too stubborn for 3 years, I hadn't faced reality. Still praying for a miracle. When I got back, everyone was waiting, seeing my blue hair and biker jacket. My mom flew into a rage. Look at you, what a state you're in, not a shred of femininity. No wonder Felix doesn't want you. I stood at the door suddenly, I didn't want to go in. I turned to leave, but my dad called out, where do you think you're going? Get in here. Call the Howards, apologize, and say you'll only marry Felix. The invitations are already out. There's no way you're calling off the wedding. And get rid of that beautiful color in your hair. The Howards don't like ostentatious women, understand? I walked slowly up to them, smiling. Why should I apologize? He's the one who wants to give his ex a home. Who wants to call off the engagement? What's wrong with me accommodating him? My dad stood up and slapped me. Bastard. He's being stupid. Do you have to be too? Use your head. Do you think the Howards would let a divorced woman into their family? My cheek burned. He went on, so what if he has someone else? Who in this circle doesn't turn a blind eye? As long as it doesn't threaten your status as Mrs. Howard. What do you have to be upset about? I touched my cheek gently. A faint smile tugging at my lips. You two can play your own games, but I'm sorry I can't. My dad's chest heaved with rage. He grabbed a cup from the table and threw it at me. That bastard's been dead for 3 years. Why do you keep moping around? You gonna mourn him forever? Jessica, I'll say it again, this wedding isn't off. You'll die, Howard, if you have to. I couldn't dodge the cup. It grazed my face, leaving a bleeding scratch by my eyebrow. Suddenly, memories flooded back. After Daniel fell off the cliff in that race, I developed severe depression. My wrists were covered in cuts when the maid found me and saved me. My parents called me melodramatic, said a rich girl like me, living a life of luxury, had no right to get such a disease. They didn't understand, didn't care. Even when I was little, they each had their own families outside. I don't get it. If they didn't love each other, why did they have me? Then the company hit a crisis, and they wanted me to marry into the Howard family. I refused. They threw Felix's photo at me, told me to stop acting, said if I really didn't want to live, I should just die. I looked down, glanced at the photo for a second. I thought Daniel was back. They looked so like, those eyes, especially like a dying person clutching at a lifeline. I agreed to meet him, even dyed my hair black obediently, because they said the Howards disliked ostentatious women, but I wanted to stay by his side. Even just looking at that face would have been enough, but I didn't expect Felix to ask for my contact info. He made the first move, so we got together. Later I found out he'd been using me as a stand-in to we'd just been using each other. So when he asked me to grow my hair out, I did. When he said he liked me in white cotton dresses, I wore them. When he said he hated me smoking, I quit. Even when he told me to stop riding bikes, I listened to everyone else. The once rebellious me had mellowed for him, loved him to death. Even Felix thought that. What could I do? Without that face, I'd have had no courage to go on. So even when he kept testing my limits, I took it. Because seeing him made me think Daniel was still by my side, never gone until his white moon came back. His eyes were only for her. That's when I woke from this dream. No matter how alike, Felix was not him. Late that night, I got an unexpected call from Felix. Your parents called mine. I remembered posting the first photo of my bike in 3 years on my social feed earlier. A friend had commented, "So cool." Soon after, Felix replied under that comment, "Who'd like such an ostentatious woman? Not marriage material at all," so I cut him off. Don't worry, you Ray, not the only one who doesn't want this wedding. It's just I felt a twinge of regret. I'd never see that look of affection in his eyes again. Felix fell silent. Then he laughed, his tone venomous. "Jessica, if you can tolerate Cecilia, I can grudgingly marry you. But don't expect me to love you, got it? After all, It's just to appease our parents you love me so much, and your family needs mine. I can make your dream come true. I traced the letters tatted on my wrist, smiling slowly. Felix, if you really want to marry me. Does Cecilia know? He said nothing, only his breath grew ragged. Felix. I know you're using me as Cecilia's stand-in. Funny, I've been doing the same. Do you know when you look most like him? I curved my lips, thinking of Daniel's lazy smile when you're quiet, just looking at me. Even if you were only seeing someone else through me, didn't mind. Just looking at that face made me happy enough. I softened my tone, speaking gently, so even when you made me do things I hated, I couldn't stay mad. But like you said, no matter how hard I tried, I'd never be her, and no matter how alike your faces, you're not the same person. So we're just stand-ins. I don't owe you, and I don't love you. This wedding. He hung up abruptly before I could finish. I took Daisy Olam. Only in dreams could I see Daniel back to those 4 years when we loved each other most. After the college entrance exam, we got together openly, in front of all our friends. Do you understand? Holding hands with the one you love, walking down the street, sipping milk tea, watching a movie. Even if you don't speak, just gazing at each other, the air tastes sweet. We could finally ride our favorite bikes, racing through the world together. Joseph said, Daniel and Jessica, they're the best match I've ever seen. Just standing there, they're a romance drama. I teased him to keep the compliments coming. Daniel leaned against his bike with hands in his pockets, watching me banter with his friends, that lazy look in his eyes. Later, we got into the same university. We started a motorcycle team, competed together. Honestly, he was such a heartthrob. Always on the school's confession wall, girls handing him love letters after class. Afraid I'd be jealous, he bribed the campus radio station to read love letters he wrote me every day. They made my skin crawl, but he'd hug me tight and laugh. I'll never get tired of writing them. I'll do it every day forever. Lots of people thought we were too wild to be faithful, but no one expected we'd last for years. My parents finally found out about us. They called me home, flew into a rage, told me to break up with that bastard at once. I refused. My dad raised a stick to hit me. I lifted my chin, stubborn. You've each had your own families for years. You never cared about me. Why suddenly meddle in my life? I'm sick of your hypocrisy. What am I to you? A tool? A commodity? I'm your father. I gave you life. You'll never escape being my daughter. He roared. My mom, I've spoiled you too much, letting you get so arrogant, saying such things. Did that bastard put you up to it? The stick was about to hit me when Daniel appeared, saving me. He pulled me behind him, shielding me. All these years, you ignored her. She never got your love. Why do you demand her obedience? Why should she do everything you say? This is the girl I love most. If you don't love her, I do. If you don't want her, I want her. That day he took my hand and walked out of that house. We said nothing, but he held me all night. We promised to marry after graduation, but right before graduation, I started being followed for no reason. Flower pots would fall from buildings as I walked by. Daniel grew distracted, till one day, he suddenly asked, if I were gone someday, what would you do? Die with you, I said. No joke. Before I was 15, I had no family, no friends. I was rebellious, didn't know why I was alive. Then I met him, my salvation. I couldn't bear to imagine a life without Daniel. Don't say that, I said. He sighed. Even if I'm gone, you have to live well. Find someone who loves you, get married, have kids. Do you hear me? I wrapped my arms tighter around his waist. What are you rambling about? I'll only wear a wedding dress for you. I'm not marrying anyone else. Stop being stubborn. I'm serious. Why so serious? Tell me, are you cheating on me? His voice went hoarse. He stroked my hair. My princess, how could I dare? Of course you wouldn't. Otherwise, I'd just marry someone random and make you regret it forever. Empty threats, he chuckled. If you ever get married and it's not to me, I'll crash the wedding. Daniel said he'd win the race for me. Propose in front of the crowd. With a trophy and a ring, the most spectacular proposal ever, but no one expected he'd never come back from that race. The dream shifted to a foggy forest. All I remembered was the deafening cheers, the sweltering summer, and the news flashing on the big screen. He'd fallen off the cliff. In the sky, blazing firelight, the world went silent. Daniel. I jolted awake. My back soaked in sweat. My phone rang. It was Joseph. Jessica. There's a race on the mountain road this afternoon. Everyone asks, going, you coming? Yes. It wasn't my scene, but I thought it was time to move forward it as just a small race. He added there's an international one the day after tomorrow, you wanna go? Blondie and the guys already left. I leaned against my bike, lighting a cigarette. Yeah, I should practice. I'll race too. Word is, a lot of big names are going there. Has this for an our course. Killing it, but he never takes off his helmet. No one knows what he looks like if I see him. I'm getting an autograph. I exhaled smoke, teasing him. Look at you. Next time, I'll win a trophy for you. Joseph's eyes reddened again. Jessica, I'm really glad you're like this. I patted his shoulder as I finished the cigarette. I turned to see Felix. Our eyes met. I could have sworn his lit up. Jessica? I ignored him. Stubbing out the cigarette, he grabbed my wrist. We need to talk. He stood in front of me, blocking the sun, a silhouette against the light. I stared at him. Such a familiar face. What a shame he wasn't Daniel. Stop looking at me like that. Felix snapped. Jessica, how dare you lie to me? He seemed furious, but I didn't get why. I pulled my hand free. Speaking slowly, Felix, you should be happy, shouldn't you? His brows lowered. He stepped in front of me, jawed-eyed. Happy? That I was a stand-in? Jessica, do you have any conscience? Anger clouded his eyes. No wonder you always looked at me like I was something you'd lost and found. No wonder you'd stare at me, eyes red, tears in them. I thought you actually loved me. I even felt sorry for you, agreed to this marriage. I was such an idiot. I let him finish, then said, Felix, were you using me as a stand-in too? Your white moon is back. You don't have to settle for me anymore. The stand-in game was over. He stepped closer. I thought he'd crush my shoulder, so I stepped back. Even if it was a game, you mellowed out for me. Didn't you? Would you have changed for him? I thought about it, then said honestly. No. I done it in case if I really did get married, Daniel would keep his promise and crash it. It was my last stubborn hope. Did you ever even like me? I looked up, calm. You don't like me. I don't like you. Isn't that fair? He paused, brows furrowed. Of course it's not fair, Jessica. You were nothing but a dog at my heels. The wedding's in 6 days. You'll regret this. I won't. I packed my bags and boarded the plane to Shanghai. For days left until the wedding. My parents refused to back down on canceling it, clinging to a glimmer of hope that Felix and I might reconcile. I looked down, brushing my fingers over the red string I'd worn for 7 years. I thought after the race. When I went back, I cut ties once and for all with that superficial home. I'd finally accepted it. Some parents just don't love their kids. I'd made peace with that. Joseph picked me up at the hotel. Word is the dark horse racer's staying here to my run into him. He said. I laughed. You his little fanboy. Joseph scratched his head. Some of his moves are a lot like Daniel's. My heart skipped to be the switch topics quickly. Jessica, let's head in. The guys missed you a lot. They'll be thrilled you're here for the race. We arrived at the venue right as it was starting. On the track, I spotted familiar old faces, guys who'd once run with Daniel. Most came from tough backgrounds, and Daniel had pulled them out of the darkness, giving them a purpose to chase over the black biker jacket. Black bike, Joseph said, pointing. It was a bit far, hard to see clearly. I squinted. Oddly enough, the helmeted figure turned their head too. A strange, sharp feeling washed over me. My hands shook, my heart hammering like it might leap out of my throat. The race is starting, Jessica. He was first out of the gate, then surged ahead. Flying like he didn't care if he lived or died. Memories hit. That rally 3 years ago, Daniel's voice before the race. I'll bring back the trophy and propose. I stared at the dark blur tearing up the track, my chest tight with a raw, aching longing. I needed an answer. Whoever he was, I had to see the face under that helmet. I dragged Joseph to the podium. Waiting those dozens of minutes felt longer than a lifetime, like waiting for a ship at an airport. I knew the odds. But I couldn't let go. Then the screen flashed. He'd crossed the finish line. Champion. He had a foreign name. The camera cut to him, index and middle fingers pressed to his lips, blowing a kiss into the air. In that moment, it burned like a brand on my cheek. He trudged over me. He followed staff backstage. I pulled some strings to get in, stepping right in front of him. Rude, I knew. But I had to see. In English I asked, could you take off your helmet? He didn't move, just stood there. Even his build matched. My heart thundered. Unshakable. Finally, he spoke. Sorry. Sorry. The world went cold. Of course it wasn't him. I thought of that summer. Daniel asking, what if I'm gone? Me saying, I'll die with you. But I hadn't. My lips trembled as I stared at the ground, all hope drained. I turned to leave. A hand caught my wrist. I looked down from his K-N-U-C-K-L-Y fingers to his veiny wrist there. Frayed to near nothing, was the same red string as mine. My mind went blank. A tear splashed onto his hand. I watched him lift one hand, unclasp the helmet, and there he was, the face I'd dreamed of. Night after night, even the curve of his smile was identical. Daniel, my Daniel. I opened my mouth, but no sound came. For the first time, I understood. Being too overwhelmed to speak. 3 years, and he looked the same and yet different, or maybe it was just the blur of my tears. He stood in the light, gilded in gold, wand spilling from his eyes as he smiled. My little firecracker, what, you don't recognize me? I threw myself into his arms, sobbing uncontrollably. Why did you so long? Heard my little tyrant was getting married to someone else. He held me tighter, pressing a kiss to my hair. Had to come crash the wedding, obviously. Beneath the words, I caught it. A barely perceptible tremor, a catch in his throat. I clung to him, tears soaking his shirt. Terrified the next second would reveal it was all a dream, an illusion. I was so scared even if it was a dream. Let me sleep a little longer. I'm sorry, he said. I promised a championship proposal. 3 years late. Do you blame me? I shook my head. No. As long as he was back. I wanted nothing else, only him at the awards ceremony. Daniel handed me the trophy. And a ring 3 years overdue. I watched him from the crowd. His figure overlapping with the boy from years ago. I promised delayed, but not broken. Finally. A happy ending. That night, we turned years of longing into wordless gestures, claiming each other again and again. Through sweat and tears. Too greedy to stop even when exhaustion pulled at us. Finally, nestled in his arms, he slowly told me what had happened these years. It was straight out of a soap opera. He and Felix looked so alike because they were brothers. Daniel's mother, too, had been a wealthy heiress. She'd fallen in love with his father freely until Felix's mother meddled, slipped drugs into his father's drink, got pregnant, and muscled her way into the family. Daniel's mother, unable to stomach such betrayal, left only to find she was pregnant later. When Felix's mother learned of their existence, she'd secretly tormented them for years. Bit by bit, that turned Daniel's mother bitter. Hungry for revenge, she tried to control Daniel, sending him abroad to take over his uncle's business, to crush the Howards. Daniel had refused. Because of me, so his mother went after me. Memories of those unprovoked stockings clicked into place. Daniel, terrified, begged her to leave me alone. His already crazy mother laid out her terms. She'd spare me only if Daniel left for good, so they faked his death. Daniel was shipped overseas. These 3 years, he'd slept only a few hours a night, all to get back to me sooner. His voice hitched, thick with tears. You have no idea how much I missed you. He told his story like it was someone else's show. He'd learned to run a company from scratch. How he'd proven himself. How he'd fought to break free of his mother's grip. He hadn't dared see me, hadn't dared reach out. All to protect me. It took minutes to tell, but I knew how hard those days had been. Knew how much blood and sweat it had taken to stand here, in front of me. I held him tighter. He clung back, like he might press me into his bones. Every time I missed you till I thought I'd go mad. I'd stab the tip of my pen into my wrist. Told myself, hurry. Hurry up and succeed. Your girl's waiting. You promised her a trophy on that track. Don't break it. You said you'd marry her. She's too stubborn, she'll wait. So I studied like a maniac, inched free of her control, till I could finally stand in front of you. I knew tears dried, then spilled again. Like I was bleeding out all the pent-up grief of these years. He stroked my face gently, pressing a soft kiss to my forehead. My little firecracker. Marry me. 3 days before the other wedding, I dragged Daniel to get our marriage license. Watching the official stamp press down between our photos, I laughed till I cried. Daniel panicked, dabbing at my tears. I'm sorry. So sorry I was late. I shook my head, wiping my cheeks. As long as it's you in the end. Late is fine. Meanwhile, a photo erupted in our social circles. On a motorcycle. A slender, fair hand pressed to the chest of the hottest racing champion of the moment. His tattooed arm, veins bulging, Wrapped tight around the woman's waist, hormones practically burned through the screen. Joseph and the guys had snapped it after the race. No one knew how it leaked. But even our crowd saw it in the group chat, the second someone posted it. Chaos erupted. Yo, this chick looks hella like Jessica. Nah. Jessica's got long black hair and wears those prim dresses. When did she go blue short and tank top shorts? Wait, that's exactly how Jessica used to look. Back in the day. The guy kinda looks like Felix? No way. When did Felix learn to ride? Now Felix think he's some foreign racer low key. They look insanely good together. Bro, but wasn't Felix drinking with us yesterday, saying Jessica dear regret it before the wedding and crawl back? So Felix thought Jessica couldn't live without him, but turns out he was the stand-in. I was trying on the wedding dress Daniel had custom made. Flown in just for me. When Felix called Jessica, who is he? I was adjusting the skirt. Daniel answered for me. He glanced at me, then grinned lazily. Voice drawling, mailing da-da-da-da-da-da. Ex-bro, let me introduce myself. I'm her legally wedded husband. Daniel and I rounded up everyone. And we rode our beloved bikes up the winding mountain road, racing to the top together. The crew laughed and cried. A jumble of emotions. He held my hand tight behind me as if we were back in that summer when we were 18. Little firecracker. Wanna run away with me? Tears stung my eyes this time. I grabbed his hand and fled into the summer night. I tiptoed to kiss his lips. But he took over, gripping my waist, bending down for a long, deep kiss. Familiar, soft, wild. None of it compared to the joy of finding what was lost. But it made up for our fiery, passionate, brilliant youth. Broken. Once I'm finished. I don't know if we saved each other. All I know is, in every rush toward one another, love was the greatest truth. We partied at the friend's shop half the night, crashing only as dawn broke. When I woke, everyone was splayed across the corners, snoring. I love this. This warmth. This ease. I stepped out to catch the mountain breeze, only to spot Felix. He squatted listlessly under a telephone pole, surrounded by cigarette butts and empty bottles. I had no idea how long he'd been there or why. I tried to slip past, but he cut me off first. Jessica, let's get married. He pulled a household registration book from his pocket. I had no clue what game he was playing. I stepped back, lifting my hand. Felix. I'm already married. He froze when he saw my ring. You married that racer? I nodded. He snapped suddenly. How could you be so reckless? You've known him 2 minutes. Why him? Why not me? His voice softened, and he stared at me. I haven't told my family to cancel the wedding. 2 days from now, we'll go through with it, please? I shook my head. The wedding won't be cancelled. I'm just swapping grooms. He went rigid. Then he laughed. Bitter that racer. I'll divorce you if he finds out he's your stand-in. Jessica. Stop messing around. Marrying me is your best bet. Oh, Felix had no idea Daniel was the love I'd never stopped waiting for. Don't worry. I said we won't divorce. Daniel's voice came from behind, his arms looping around my shoulders. He kissed my lips because traitors go to hell. Staring at that near-identical face, Felix said nothing. He wandered off, lost 2 days before the wedding. Daniel and I were revising the guest list. Only our closest friends, a wedding just for us. We were swamped when Cecilia called, sniffling. Can you see Felix? He drank himself into alcohol poisoning. He's in the hospital. I frowned. What did that have to do with me? Cecilia choked out. I thought Felix was really waiting for me. Really loved me. I thought when I came back, he'd stand by me without hesitation. He stayed with me that week. But he kept checking his phone. Waiting for your call. You never even texted. So when he brought me to you, said he was calling off the engagement. He was trying to provoke you, but you left so calmly. You didn't see how crazy he went after you left. I finally get it. He caught feelings for you, even in that stupid standing dame finding out you're with someone else. He just drank and drank. Slurring your name. I cut her off, brow furrowed. I don't care. I don't love him, never, not even a little. He doesn't love me. Either. He's just mad he didn't have the upper hand. I hung up. The day before the wedding, Daniel's company made a high-profile acquisition of the Howards business that Swame learned. The Howards had a secret child out there. A child who'd never fought for their fortune. Just teamed up with his mother to take them down in one blow. The other talk of the town, how Daniel and Felix looked like twins. Then Daniel announced he was marrying his first love. The wedding set for the next day. That's when everyone connected the dots. The racer was him. He was my resurrected white moon. My parents were thrilled, thinking they'd latched onto a new cash cow. But when I brought Daniel home to tell them, Jessica Williams is cutting ties with the Williams family, their faces fell. I'd always hesitated, draining myself. Because they'd given me life. Because part of me still hoped for their care, their understanding, their approval, their love. But I didn't choose to be born now that I was here. I was my own person. When their words cut me, when my pain swallowed me, they'd stood by, watching me drown. Never once reached out if I couldn't have their love. I didn't want it. Not everyone gets family. Accepting that void is part of growing up. As I left, my parents stood in front of me, panic on their faces. For once, but it didn't matter, not anymore. Wedding day. I slipped into the dress Daniel had made perfectly fitted. How do you know my size? I asked. He pinched my cheek because a certain someone definitely didn't eat well while I was gone. He wore a sharp suit. The wildness of his youth softened into maturity. Into warmth. He hugged me from behind, and I stared at our reflection in the mirror. Eyes stinging. I'd waited so long for this day. Daniel lifted my chin, kissing my tears away. My little firecracker. Still such a crier. That one line broke the dam. I'd imagined him saying it that day at the mountain foot. A hallucination. Now it was real, lost, then found. The world had been too kind. I tilted my face, kissing his eyes, his brows. Because I know what I'll do whatever. Someone ll wipe my tears. Someone ll wait to watch spring rain with me, summer winds, autumn leaves, winter snow. So even when I'm alone, I can walk forward bravely. Because I know whatever. At the edge of the cliff, there'll be a wild wind, and the one I love, waiting, saying, hello again.